and women, they're an easy target and they don't have a voice.
With that in mind, Edens and a team of supporters spent the morning distributing flyers with the face of the Jogger rapist front and center.
My mind is just being determined to bring awareness to the community. I don't know how I'll feel later.
And who can blame her? Edens has been through a lot since Gilmore raped her in 1986.
I still get spooked that somebody's watching me. I have bad dreams, nightmares, night terrors is what they are called. I see a therapist.
And she's not alone. Gilmore confessed to attacking 8 other girls and women in Portland in the late 70s and early 80s. But because those assaults fell outside the statute of limitations at the time, Gilmore only served time for the attack on Edens, more than 3 decades.
It's been 36 years, so I've prepared in some ways for this time, but it's really here. So you can imagine that it's very surreal for me and the other victims.
Edens' friends recognize her anxiety, and that's why they helped her spread the word about Gilmore's release.
As somebody that's gone through similar things, I just think that it's right to bring awareness to people that are unaware. Like, these people they have no notice, you know what I mean? They have no notice at all.
No notice at all because the state classified Gilmore as a level 1 sex offender, the lowest of the 3 risk levels for sex offenders. Edens and others believe that's a mistake. They believe Gilmore is capable of reoffending, and they want the community to be aware, especially those living on the streets of Old Town.
They're already broken. Who would listen to them or even miss them if they were killed or raped?
All right, despite the state classifying Gilmore as a level 1 sex offender, we're told Multnomah County will be putting him on a high-risk supervision plan. That means he'll have to wear a GPS electronic monitoring device, and he'll have to adhere to a strict curfew and regular check-ins with supervisors. Ashley?
Mike, thank you.
The man Oregonians know as the Jogger rapist is now out of prison. Richard Gilmore spent the last 36 years in custody and now goes to transitional housing in Portland's Old Town district. Gilmore raped at least 9 women in the 70s and 80s, but due to statute of limitations, he was only convicted of 1. He is classified as a low-level sex offender. Survivors say they want to see Gilmore's low-level offender classification changed, and they say he is still dangerous.
I still get people that say, oh, he wouldn't come after you. You know, you've been too high profile. Really? I mean, when he broke into my house and I thought he left and I got trapped in my parents' bedroom on the phone with law enforcement, they kept telling me he's not coming back. He knows you're there, he's not coming back. Well, he did. He came back.
And we learned a factor hurting the state's ability to evaluate how dangerous sex offenders are is a backlog of tens of thousands of sex offenders in Oregon. Now, KOIN 6 was the first to report on Gilmore's controversial release. You can watch interviews with his victims, protesters of his release, and people profiling his chances of reoffending. That's all on KOIN.com.
A Portsmouth mother is behind bars following the death of her 5-year-old. 31-year-old Kara Faulkner was charged after she took the child to an area hospital, and shortly thereafter, he was pronounced dead. Police then took a look at the crime scene on Turnpike Road and charged Faulkner with second-degree murder, child neglect, and drug crimes. Our Haley Mylon has even more details surrounding the case. Haley?
Well, Tom, an update. As of just about 2 hours ago, investigators were inside collecting evidence here at the crime scene off of Turnpike Avenue. It's just a devastating story. 5-year-old is dead. His mother is behind bars, charged with his murder just days before Christmas. And according to court documents, young Carter was left in a pretty dangerous situation right here at this Airbnb behind me. 32-year-old Kara Faulkner tells investigators she'd taken fentanyl and crack cocaine while hanging out with some friends, including her dope dealer on Sunday night. She says she left Carter with the drug dealer while she went into Wawa. They were staying at the Airbnb in Portsmouth. She said Carter was fine when he went to bed that night. The next morning, though, she says she went to wake him for school, but his legs were cold to the touch, and his body was covered in bruises. She drove him to Maryview Hospital, and nurses there said he'd been dead for hours. Faulkner was originally taken into custody on child abuse and neglect and drug-related charges. After searching the townhome, the second-degree murder charges were added. The medical examiner doesn't have an official cause of death for Carter yet. The Faulkners had been living with Kara's mother in the Port Norfolk neighborhood. Neighbors there remember Carter as a happy and energetic child.
Happy child. Because they be out here jumping around, playing, and it was a whole lot of toys, so they had a whole lot to play with.
He was, running back and forth. Nikki Padira, shaken by the news, says her daughter went to school with Carter.
Breaks my heart.